You might be surprised by the title. Really, France? The most important country of 2022? More important than China, the US, or Russia? And sure, there are valid arguments that could be made for other countries, but in this video, I will show you that the decisions that the French people make will impact not only their country, but Europe and the planet as a whole. The reason is that in less than a week from now, the French will choose a new president. And the two candidates couldn't be different. Now, I will focus on the international perspective because France is a significant and influential country. So when they choose a president, it will not only impact people living in France. Also, I can't claim to be objective because that would be a lie. I have my own opinion and I will share it with you. Maybe we'll agree, maybe we'll disagree, and all of that is fine. So here are three aspects that I want to talk about: France and the European Union, the future of NATO, and France's impact on the rest of the world. The two presidential candidates have drastically different ideas on all of these three areas. So there is no doubt that this is an important choice, and its consequences will probably be felt for the decades to come. So first, the effect on Europe. Here we can see just how different their ways of thinking are. On one side, Macron favors further integration. He believes that this both makes France and other members stronger and more capable. Le Pen has the opposite view. In 2017, she wanted France to leave the European Union, but that was not popular with the public. So now she has a different approach. She wants to reform it, make it better. It sounds good, right? Well, her idea of reform is making the union weaker and weaker. She's also not a big fan of international cooperation, especially with Germany, a key economic and political partner of France. It's not just their politics, their worldview is very different. Le Pen believes that international cooperation makes countries weaker. So what would be the consequences of her becoming president? Since France is a key European nation, it's safe to say that there wouldn't be further integration. But depending on how far she wants to push her anti-EU plans, it's possible that she could significantly destabilize the union, causing both political and economic harm to France and other members. Let's talk about NATO and security next. On one side, Le Pen wants to exit NATO Integrated Command, which is quite a big deal, and does not support military cooperation with Germany, while Macron is in favor of NATO, at least for now, although he has been critical of the alliance in the past. So on the surface, this does not look like a crucially big difference, but there is one thing that I find interesting: their long-term plans. If I'm being honest, I don't think either of them consider NATO a long-term solution to European security. So Le Pen is in favor of France conducting its security and military separately from other countries, while Macron is the opposite. He strongly supports the idea of a European army. So this would be joining all the different European militaries into one. Now, I'm gonna give you my honest opinion on this. I think NATO is necessary now, but I don't think it's a long-term solution. There are a couple of reasons. First, the United States is shifting their focus to Asia, so they are less and less interested in what happens in Europe. And secondly, and I'm gonna say the quiet part out loud, the United States is not an ally that can be trusted. In recent history, they backstabbed their European allies too many times. Whether we are talking about them starting a tariff war, or pushing their European allies into the war in Iraq based on a lie, or exiting the Iran deal and putting sanctions on European companies, or directly spying on the German chancellor. Like, I can go on, but I think you get the picture. So the real question is, What should NATO in the future be replaced by? Should it be every country taking care of their own security needs by themselves, or one large defensive force with a task of protecting every individual member? Okay, so now for the last topic, France's approach to the rest of the world. I think you can see by now that they will have a different approach. So Le Pen prefers to deal with France and France alone, and believes that many other types of cooperations would be a waste of time and money. Now, again, here, Macron prefers a more international approach. In his worldview, cooperation would be beneficial to France. I can explain this in a clear example. Macron was a crucial supporter of the Great Green Wall of Africa project. Now, I did a video on that a while back, and I recommend you watch it. But here's a quick summary. The project plans to plant billions and billions of trees in order to stop the spread of the Sahara Desert. Not only will this be good for the environment and the climate, it will also save millions of lives. Because right now, that region is one of the poorest on the planet, and over 120 million people live there. I'm going to be honest here and tell you that I clearly believe that Macron's way of doing things in this regard is better. Now, let's say that you're a more practical person than me and you're not convinced by the idea of saving tens of millions of lives. Well, I have an argument for you. Which would be better for France? Help and support this region right now, and in the future have a number of allies and trading partners, or do nothing and let it become a wasteland in 10 to 15 years. And at that point, you're going to have tens of millions of people trying to reach Europe because that's their only chance of survival. That will make the migration crisis of 2015 look like a park gathering. Look, I sort of get it. It's a scary reality. It's easier if for us to think that we can solve all our problems just by ourselves, because some time ago in the past that was the case, but the world is getting more and more connected and more complicated. The problems we face today are often shared between different countries, and in order to really fix them, often the solutions have to be shared as well. So yeah, whether we like it or not, we're in this together. Look, the reason I decided to do a video on the French election is not only because I believe it's important, but because this conflict of on one side working together and having more cooperation, and on the other side believing that you're better off alone, is present in almost every country on the planet. And by now you know my opinion. I think we can either desperately hold on to this old idea of the world where we tell ourselves that we are still very important, that we can do everything alone, or we can be brave, work together, trust others, and truly try to create a better world, not just for our country, but for others. And in a few days, this election in France might show us in which direction humanity is heading. So that's why it's important. Thanks for watching. Keep in mind that I could be wrong about different things, so it's always good to do your own research. Now, if you're interested in the Great Green Wall of Africa, here's a video on it. It might be humanity's most ambitious project. Or maybe you're interested in France. Well, here's a video where I rank it in 5 categories. It truly is such an interesting country. Now, if you want to support a small channel, feel free to subscribe, and I hope you have a wonderful day.